Okay, I am a children's author. Can anybody give me a definition of what an author is? This boy right here.
Somebody that writes books.
Right. And I write books for children who are about 4 to 13. And some of the books I have are, we would call them novels or chapter books. And I just want to tell you that when you go home later, how many of you have computers at home? Most everybody does these days. Okay, on the computer, your teachers will give you my website, and you can take a look at my other books and where I've been. And if you click on the photos, with the help of your parents, you could then see some pictures of yourself. Okay? But always remember that when you're on the computer that you need somebody nearby, and that person should be an adult. Okay? Okay, first of all, I have to tell you a little bit about myself. I worked with preschool children for a lot of years, and I realized that children had bless you, so many funny things about them, and their minds were so creative. And then when I stopped working with children, I decided that some of their ideas would be brought into books. And I've always loved to rhyme. And I also found out as a preschool teacher that when you rhyme for children, they remember. I was just noticing something here. And I bet this really helps you remember how to recycle. And you know, I remember rhymes from when I was a tiny little girl. Always loved rhyming. And I have to admit, I also loved scenes in my mind that was silly and funny. And sometimes when I'm shopping or I'm with the doctor, I think of silly things that would happen, things that are really fiction. Anybody could tell me what fiction is? This girl right here.
It's something that.
Are you still thinking? Okay, this girl here.
It's like not real.
Not real. That's right. So I will begin by telling you that all of the things that happen in this book are not real. Okay? I think you probably already know that because you're in 2nd grade. If you were 4 or 5, you might not realize that. Okay? And I know that a lot of people right now will have some questions, but I ask you please to hold the questions for after, okay? Then I will answer all your questions. Okay, this book is a collection, an anthology of poems of silly things that I imagined would happen. And perhaps the next time you're somewhere that's serious, in your mind, you might be thinking of something silly that's going to happen, and then you might start to laugh, and someone might be wondering, what are you laughing about? And oh, it's just something I'm thinking. So the imagination is your own imagination is very entertaining. And sometimes you don't need anything more than what's up here. Okay, so I'm going to begin, and I think I will read right from here. The name of the book is Silly Rhymes for Fun Times, written by Susan Wigden. And for this book, it was the same illustrator, Corey Columban, who actually lives in Colorado and is an author herself. Okay, we can hold all questions, remember? Okay. Right here, it's just some information about the publisher and some important notes about the copyright. Okay. And this is a dedication. Does anybody know what that word dedication means? Right back here.
Let's say you would put some somebody's name in, like, in memory of or in honor of something.
Very, very, very good. Good job. Okay. With love and appreciation to my husband, Bruce, for all that you are to me, and for our son, Lee, who will always have my heart. For Jake, Evan, and Josh, my 3 great nephews, and for Alyssa, my great niece. My utmost thanks to the very talented Corey Columban. It is through her delightful illustrations that the silly in the rhymes came to life.
Okay, that's good.
A visit to the dentist. I was enjoying my visit to the dentist. Can everybody from here see?
William.
Okay.
Would you put your pencil?
Which is very rare, until the nurse noticed there was something wrong with the chair. It went up and down and all around and spun me in the air. It launched me to the reception desk as the staff gave me a stare. Finally, the dentist noticed and said, "You'll be just thrilled. With all this broken equipment, your teeth cannot be filled." I have to tell you about this. I was once actually on the dentist chair, and for a second, the dentist had a hard time pumping up the chair, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, maybe there's something with wrong with the chair. I'm out of here. Mm-hmm. So that was something that happened to me. Now, I want you to listen and remember these rhymes, because after we're going to play a game, so you really need to pay attention.
Oh, man.
Okay. And we're ready for the next.
Okay. Isn't that the one?
Okay, I'm sorry. Grandma's meatballs. We're invited to Grandma's for dinner. She said, "Now don't be late. Let's start getting ready, as we shouldn't make her wait." We arrived there precisely when the clock was turning 8, and on her rose-petal china were 5 meatballs on my plate. Said Grandma to me, "Go ahead and eat." And then she said, "Bon appetit." The problem was the meatballs, they smelled just like my feet. My mom and dad just stared at me. I knew just what to do. I may believe I ate them, but I hid them in my shoe. Sometimes when I'm invited to certain people's homes and I don't like the food, I often think, I wish there was some polite way of getting rid of this food. But instead I eat it. Do I hide it in my shoe, really? No, that would
You just eat it.
I just eat it, right. My friend's breath.
Ew.
My friend's breath was so bad, I didn't know what to do. Every time she talked to me, I wanted to say, "Pew!" But that's not nice, and I know it. So I gave a hint. On her kitchen table, I left her 1 strong mint. That didn't help her either, so I left her some juice. But when that made it even worse, I cut the garden hose loose. I pretended to water her flowers, but instead aimed for her face. Now all the bad breath in her mouth is gone without a trace. You wouldn't really do that, would you?
No. I would just give them mints.
Mints, okay.
Mints are good.
Okay. How to grow potatoes. If you want to grow potatoes, but haven't got a clue, this is where you need to start, and this is what to do. Never ever wash your ears or clean them out at all. If you start in the summer, you'll have them by the fall. Potatoes will grow out of your ears. This you will have found. But with potatoes in your ears, you may not hear a sound. So if you want to grow potatoes, but haven't got a clue, better go to a garden center and ask them what to do.
It's like it's like you put a seed in your ear and then water and then it goes. But you can't do that without sunlight. It needs soil. So.
Granny sweaters. Granny knit me a sweater. I didn't know what to do. With those black and white vertical stripes, my address should have been the zoo. So I made believe I lost it, and that I was very sad. She said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I really am not mad. In fact," she said, "don't worry. I want you to be happy, hon. I've already started knitting. I'm making another one. This time it was yellow. I thought I looked like a bird. I knew that if I wore it, that I would look absurd. So I made believe I lost it, but Granny knit one again. Now I walk around looking like a feathery red hen."
That rhymes.
Little brother. On Sundays, we listen to my brother play his flute. My dad thinks he's wonderful. My mom says he's cute. He can't play a single note. It's such a pain to hear. All the time I listen, I have cotton in my ear. So if you have a little brother who plays the flute really rotten, just keep on smiling and don't run out of cotton.
Oh, I get it, because he doesn't like the noise. I have my shadow.
You can't really see because I'm in the way. Is that it? Let me see here. So, is this better for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. And thanks for telling me. Whenever there's a problem, it's nice to politely tell someone and then they help you. My shadow. I have a little shadow who doesn't look like me. Sometimes it's so annoying, I'd like to lose it up a tree. My hair's in place and combed so neat. My shadow's hair is a mess. I look so handsome in my shirt. My shadow wears a dress. This year I've really grown a lot. I've become very tall. While standing next to my shadow, it is very small. One day while I was walking, my shadow started to run. I was very sad that day. It was having fun. But today something happened. My shadow scraped its knee. I handed it a bandage. Glad it wasn't me. A lesson learned. Okay, I just have to tell you before I begin to read this. I decided I needed to write a poem about something. Every time I put socks in my dryer, I'm missing one.
What happened to me
Does
just
that
the
ever
other day?
happen? Does that ever happen? Do you ever hear your mom saying, "I'm missing a sock"? I was wondering, where do they go? Does that happen? Okay. A lesson learned. I put my socks in the dryer. I have no idea where they went. They may have made their way through an open vent. Perhaps they mapped a route that led to the streets, determined never to be worn again on my feet. I've learned from this experience to dry them outside in the air, so that when I take them in, I will always have a pair. Now my socks have learned their lesson about escaping to the street. The only job that is for them is on my smelly feet. Stuck in my brother's toe. Has anyone seen the tooth fairy? I really need to know. Seems 2 of my front teeth are stuck in my brother's toe. He didn't mean to do it. All we did was have a race. But when he fell on top of me, his foot went in my face. So now you know how it happened and why I need to find a special kind of fairy who is also very kind. She'll have to come at night when my brother doesn't know, then leave a lot of money and take the teeth in his toe. I hope she can do it. Hope he doesn't need a stitch. In the morning when he wakes up, I'll be the one who's rich.
Oh, that doesn't look good. That's funny. Yeah.
To pick your nose.
Yeah.
My little brother picks his nose and doesn't use a tissue. My mother says, don't yell at him and let's not make an issue. But I feel very differently, and I will tell you why. Every time he picks his nose, it ends up in my pie.
Oh.
I bought a box of tissues and said, now please watch me. I blew my nose so very hard, the tissue flew up a tree. I climbed the tree to get it, and then when I came down, little brother looked at me but didn't make a sound. He knew I learned my lesson, and as the story goes, never use a tissue when you have fingers to pick your nose. Is that true?
No.
Of course not.
Now the two brothers always use a tail.
Old food.
Oh. Granny and Grandpa food.
Granny and Grandpa food, that's right. Now listen, my friend, as this advice is told. Don't eat food that is too old. Burned and spotted, reheated or potted, pickled or sauteed in sour juice, boiled too much or extremely loose. I advised my brother. He said I was a bore. He ate old food and barfed on the floor. Now that you know this, you'll never do the same. If you barf from old food, you'll have yourself to blame.
All these things are like a life lesson.
What did you say?
All these things are like a life lesson. Never eat old food.
Life lesson.
Yeah. Never pick your nose.
Dad's haircut.
What? Oh.
My dad just got a new haircut with a part starting at his ear. My mom said, oh my goodness, what did they do to you, dear? She suggested taking him shopping to buy some sort of wig, because I think that maybe she thought his hair looked too big. Instead, he combed it over to the other side. But when Mom saw his hairstyle, she yelled, just go and hide. He hid for a while in the closet, and then when he came out, his hair was tossed and ruffled, and the comb overthrown about. Mom said, wowie, darling, now you look just fine. I went right into the closet to make that hairstyle mine. Ghost in my house.
Yes.
Okay. My house is possessed by a ghost who has been passing gas. My parents called the police to deal with this nasty task. They said they could not help us. There was nothing they could do. So we placed a clothespin on our noses to avoid the pew. The ghost was getting angrier and blasted all day long. Sometimes the sounds belted out by him sounded like a song. So we packed our clothes and furniture and moved to another town. Then, one night in the new house, we heard another round. My mother looked at Father and said, now what should I do? It's not the ghost, my darling. The one passing gas is you.
Oh.
No hair.
Uh-oh.
My dad trimmed his mustache. He used an instrument of some sort. One side looked extremely long, and the other very short. Mom said, I hate to say it, but you look very weird. Maybe you should lose the mustache and try to grow a beard. The beard he grew was curly. My mom said, listen, dear, I really hate to say it, but you look just like a bear. Finally, Dad got the point and completely understood. No hair should be upon his face, and then he will look good. This is a picture of me. Silly rhymes for fun times. is Susan Wigden's fourth rhyming picture book for kids. As a former nursery school teacher, Susan continues to remain in the lives of children through her visits to schools and bookstores. For information on her other works, please visit, and that's my website, so that when you go home, you could take a look at my website. And I know that some of you did not order books today, and that's okay. So if in the future you would like to, you can order them through Barnes & Noble or Amazon. But I'm hoping that you were paying attention, because now we have a little game to play with some of the rhymes from inside this book. And I know you heard a lot of rhymes today, and you may have had one that was your favorite, perhaps because it taught you a life lesson, or because you thought of something like that happening in your own life. Let's see what you remember. Can you need some volunteers here? Okay. And meanwhile, as your classmate is holding this, you might want to study the picture and think back. Good job holding it. Let's go right here.
Left chain through, watch your fingers.
Obstacle course. Good walking there. Okay, you can see right next to it. Okay. Please do study these pictures and think about the collection of poems that you just heard. Okay. Now I'm going to show you another picture, and I'm going to ask you to stand next to the person who's holding the picture that matches. This picture here. Okay, let's make room for you. Good job. Look how careful she's walking. You're going to step on toes and fingers. Okay, well, yes, they match perfectly, but now we need volunteers to tell us what's happening in each scenario here. Okay, let's begin over here. Okay, now we have some anxious people. These boys back here.
My brother's toe.
Okay, what happened here?
When they were racing, his brother they fell over, and his brother put his foot in his face.
That's exactly what happened. Okay, now we have two pictures here. Let's see, anybody remember what happened here? Let's go right here.
The chairs spun around and it broke all the and they couldn't fill his cavity.
Exactly. So whoever was in that chair lucked out. Okay.
Little brother. The thing is little brother, and then
And you remember the title of that poem, okay?
his little brother was trying to flu, and he had cotton in his ear because he didn't really like it because he said it was wrong.
That's about it. What do you think? You did pretty good. You did pretty good, okay? Okay, I'm going to collect these, and I'm going to ask if you didn't have a turn speaking, to please tell me which poem you like best and why. And do we have time for music too? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd love to know which poem you like best and why. Anybody who didn't have a turn coming up yet? Okay, this girl right here.
I can't hear. Listen, please. One person speaking.
The old food one. Okay, and one more person. Okay, this boy here.
The picking nose.
The picking nose one. Okay, now I'd like you to hear. Okay, we actually have some music and sent them to the publisher. The publisher chose a collection of them and left out others. That's just how it happened. But the person who sang them may have added some poems and turned it into songs that weren't in here. So if you listen really carefully, you might hear that. And he turned it into, because you know that poetry can sometimes be turned into songs. So I know that Miss Susan is going to play something, and I'm going to sit right here now so I can listen with you. And he's also the co-author of one of my novels. Anybody know what a co-author means?
It's like a co-pilot, but you're author.
It's like a co-pilot.
Second command. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it, yes.
So it's kind of like somehow you were sick the day, or like one time, or like it's hard to explain.
Like if I couldn't continue writing, the other person would. That's what I'm hearing you say.
How couldn't you continue writing?
And
If someone is sick, or yeah.
okay, while
Or
Bruce
lunch
is
break.
trying to get that to work, this would be a good time for you to ask me some questions. Did anybody not have a turn doing something today? If you didn't, please raise your hand, this boy back here.
In the beginning, you said that the girl that did the illustrations, she's in Colorado. I used to live in Colorado.
You used to live in Colorado.
I go to
Wow.
vacation there every.
Wow, so you went from cold and snow to the sun.
Every summer.
And I drive to there.